Previously on Ballz.
Right, time to talk cycling now, and Rob Hunter is here in studio with us finally at Ballz Visual Radio. You look like you've shrunk a little bit.
Well,
Is that
it's kind of one of the things you got to be as a cyclist, is as small as possible and as light as possible.
End of
good
cycling
afternoon to you too, Dave.
No, yeah,
Called being fit.
I looked at Rob and I'm like, Rob, you've gone like you've shrunk. That's end of cycling season, I suppose. Eh?
Yeah, it is though. So I'll be picking up weight soon. Don't worry.
There we go. That's good because you got a nice little. How many months back home now?
What's it? Good 3 months, eh? So end of December back to Europe. So yeah, for the meantime until then, it's sunshine in South Africa.
There we go. See, cycling have got it right. You can't push these guys week after week after week and then, give them a 2-week break and then tell them start again with pre-season and competitive cycling
Or
again.
maybe I've got it right and I just like pick up a knee injury and don't like cycling for so long. Eh?
Oh, well, are there still tours and events and stuff
Yeah,
people
they're still racing at the moment. Actually, I mean, racing carries on until middle of next month. Actually,
Is it? Okay.
So I've kind of called it quits a little bit early this year.
Lekker. Well, nice to see you again. Welcome home.
Thanks.
Thanks for all the chats that we had.
Thanks a lot.
It was during the
Thank you,
Giro
Robbie.
and the
Giro and the Tour de France.
Tour de France, yeah.
Well,
very, very.
while I was still at the Tour de France, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
how
well.
did because you fell, and
Yeah, I crashed and messed up my back, so it took a bit of time to get back from it. But yeah, I mean, I was only at the tour for a good 7 days, and then I was sitting on my couch watching it myself as well.
that's
What? No. So I mean, just looking ahead, next year back again.
Yeah, next year back again, and then, I mean, the season starts out pretty early for me, so it starts out in January already, and then I mean, pretty much the same program like every year, and try and probably prepare for the Tour of Italy again, and hopefully the Tour de France. I mean, it's probably one of the last times I'll end up riding it, maybe, because I'm also getting long in the tooth there. So.
But now, what about the South African team that they're busy putting together?
Yeah, they're busy. MTN's busy putting a team together.
Quebec,
MTN Quebec, yeah, and they trying for probably in 2 to 3 years' time to get into Tour de France. Got a great project that they're pushing, and as far as international cycling arena is concerned, they're really trying to globalize cycling, which obviously then includes Africa and South Africa. And so yeah, they've got a good project, and they're really pushing it. They've got some good sponsors putting good money into to actually make it happen. So it's I think day by day they're working towards their goal, and it is happening. So I think there's a big possibility within 3 years that you'll actually have a full African, South African team actually racing in the Tour de France.
All right, so it's not going to be next year or the year after.
No, it takes a bit of time. It's not just something that happens overnight. It's a process. You've got to get good riders, work up points. Got to be recognised as a team racing in Europe on the right level. And when that happens, then you kind of get the nod to go and race the Tour de France.
And maybe wait for Chris Froome's contract to finish it.
Exactly, and that happens in 2 years. So
Yeah, there we go.
still got to find a bit more money to hire him as well.
Well, now they will.
Exactly.
you told us what it costs to kind of set up a team, well, you told us what your bike cost. I mean, that was horrific enough.
Okay, so he's not loaning me that.
He's
for
not
the,
loaning you. No, I mean,
points there.
but run us through those costs again if you want to put a team into the Tour de France.
Look, I think you look at a team like MTN Quebec. I take them for example, who is trying to get up to the whole thing. I think they've got a budget of about 150 million for the next 3 years, which is a relatively, I'd say, a small budget on where they want to be going. To run a tour, I mean, a team in the Tour de France at the right level, you're looking at a budget of about 10 to 15 million euros a year. So 3 times higher than what the MTN guys are looking at. But I mean, they've got great sponsors with obviously MTN and then Samsung jumping on board. So there's definitely depth there for them to grow in the next couple of years and actually get to that level. But yeah, so the costs aren't small. But I mean, if you compare cycling and the amount of publicity that they get, to
Hey Knox, it's my little finger. What are you doing?
the not so little finger.
She's humping my little finger here. Sorry.
But yeah, if you compare that to other sports like Formula One or whatever the case may be, and football, and cycling being, or Tour de France being the 3rd biggest watched event in the world, so the amount of money that gets put into to get to that is small in comparison to the amount of publicity that actually comes out of it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Just the biggest is obviously the World Cup soccer, right? You're
Yeah,
talking about
it's
start to finish events.
Start to finish events. It's World Cup soccer,
Super
the
Bowl?
Olympics,
Oh, okay.
the Olympics, and then Tour de France.
Really, Super
Yeah.
Bowl not one of the top 3.
Nah.
Really?
Not well. Super Bowl's huge.
The
in-
Americans would like to think
Exactly.
it is.
It's huge in America, and a lot of people watch it over, of that weekend. But I mean, if you compare it, the amount of people who watch over from start to finish, Tour de France is the 3rd biggest event. So the amount of coverage that sponsors get over that period of time is huge. I mean, it's never easy going to a sponsor and saying, "Listen, lay out 200 million rand," or whatever the case is. But if you look at the amount of coverage that they get out of it, over that period of time, and obviously cycling runs for a full year, the biggest event being the Tour de France, where they get their best publicity. But there's definitely it's definitely well worth sponsors while getting involved in cycling, as in return of investment.
Yeah. Now, obviously, the shadow of Lance Armstrong hovers over the tour, because this year was pretty much an uneventful from that side of things tour. There weren't too many. Was it Andy? Let me not get the wrong oak now. Frank Schleck. I almost said Andy Schleck. Frank Schleck was about the only one really that.
Frank was the only guy who came up with a positive test. Yeah, and it's again, it's a substance that is very controversial. It's not something that enhances your performance. But the problem is that obviously within cycling, anything found within your system, performance enhancing or not, if it's not supposed to be there, the athlete is liable. So yeah, he's got to now justify how it got there, which is almost impossible. But it's a difficult situation for him to try and get through, and I can only imagine he's going to be given a ban. But the best thing for him at the end of the day, if he really is innocent, is to try and do like Alberto Contador did, come back and start winning straight away, and and do it that he can then say, listen, you see, it wasn't something that enhanced my performance. Yeah. Exactly. But yeah,
I can never understand though, if it's not a performance enhancing. Where would you find the stuff? I don't even know what it's called.
Well, that's the thing with a lot of.
Find it in medicines that might be for flu or for colds, or.
Well, that's the thing. He's busy saying he doesn't know how he got it in his system. So it could come from a number of different places. A guy putting something in his in his bottle, or whatever the case may be. Maybe some kind of medicine that, or supplement that he took that he didn't know it was in. Those are things that you have to be careful with being athletes. You can't just go out and take any kind of a substance, because a lot of products are made in certain labs, and they're mixing a product that they think is absolutely legal. Then the next batch comes along and it's got some kind of stimulant in, and if the machines aren't cleaned, things can get brought across into so-called clean products. And it has happened in the past, and has been proven that it wasn't athletes' faults.
Yeah.
But the problem is, the biggest problem, I suppose, with sanctioning athletes is that with the WADA code, then basically stand up and say it's the athlete who has to prove his innocence, and even then, once the product is in your system, it wasn't supposed to be there, so you sanctioned.
Exactly.
It's not like a normal court of law where they say, okay, it wasn't your fault, it didn't enhance your performance, okay, you're innocent, so off you go. With sport, it's very different, and it's for the athlete at the end of the day to somehow try and prove his innocence, and it's almost impossible to do.
But why doesn't each federation then go and say, okay, well, let's look at the substances that, as I say, are not substances that might be not necessarily performance enhancing, but there might be other reasons why they are bad for you to take them. But I'm just saying that if it's not a performance enhancing substance, surely can't cycling say, right, well, whatever the list is, that the universal list is, these ones we will exclude.
Yeah, look,
because no one's going to start taking them, because it's not helping their performance anyway. So why would they take it?
Well, that makes sense. If you look at take caffeine, for instance, a couple of years ago, it was also on the banned list.
But why? What's wrong with having a cup of coffee before you race?
Well, that's the thing. Caffeine is probably one of the strongest natural stimulants you can find. So a couple of years, up until a couple of years ago, it was on the banned list, up until a certain level. So drinking a cup of coffee, you're fine, but if you're over, I think it was 350 or 400 milligrams, so it was probably about 20 cups of coffee, they said you're positive. But now all of a sudden it's no longer a positive, because it's a natural substance. Yes, it gives you a boost, but it's not going to go and make you win the Tour de France. So they said, okay, it's fine. But what about the poor guy who 10 years ago got caught for caffeine?
Yeah.
So that's the problem with it's always difficult, because day by day there are science is improving, and they're trying to find and trying to better things all the time. The tests and which products really work and don't, and so you're always going to have guys who were maybe sanctioned years ago saying, like a Frank Schleck or Contador, going, they found this product in my system, it came through meat or didn't, whatever the case may be, and then they sit back 10 years from now again and say, okay, maybe we shouldn't have sanctioned him, because whether it was in his system or not, it wasn't performance enhancing, so it actually was wrong to actually sanction the guy. But until they sit down and say, right, the non-performance enhancing substances, whether they shouldn't be used, until that's kind of taken away, it's always going to be a very grey area, and athletes will get sanctioned for those things.
Because there was a stage where they say some meats have something in there that I don't want to say it's nandrolone or something, but they've got something in there that's also on the banned list. So if you go and have a steak, which might be important for your sport, you don't know, but this particular cow happened to have this in them, which came via the grass that they ate, which is a different grass to another cow eating. I mean, that's how I know I'm making it sound ridiculous, but it kind of boils down to, if you had a certain meat or a steak at a place that had something in there, you were banned as well because you had a steak. It's stupid.
Exactly. That's the whole situation with the Contador thing. I mean, the amount of substance that was found in his body was so minute that it could almost not be traced. Now, that could possibly come through some kind of a tainted meat because of the amount that was in his system. Because if he had taken a certain amount of whatever the case it was, they would have found a lot more in his system. So that's where he stood up and says, he then stood up and said that it was through tainted meat. So yeah, it can happen. It can happen that you can get it through, through other areas, not just by going into a pharmacy and saying, hey, give me a bunch of whatever the case may be, and sticking it down your mouth. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's still then, with the way the rules are at the moment, it's the athlete's problem, and that needs to be fixed. And
the whole Lance Armstrong issue, I think last time we spoke to you was just when this was all sort of boiling up. Now it's boiled over, and basically they've said, that's it, your tours are gone. Yeah. He's basically carrying on saying, well, as far as it's up to people to decide whether I am a 7-time Tour de France champion or not.
Correct.
What I mean, just from the guys that actually get on the bikes and cycle, I mean, what is the general feeling?
Honestly, we don't care. And I think that's the personal opinion of, I'd say, 99% of the athletes out there, because Lance, when he was around there, I got on with him and it was great.
Were you in the same team as him?
I was last year.
Last year?
Yeah.
Is that the only time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, previously I'd been offered contracts by them, but I never raced with them because I was happier with with the teams that I was with. And but it's the situation is that people are harping on the past, and I mean, whether he did it or didn't do it, I mean, at the end of the day, it's for everyone out there to decide. The evidence is out there. People can read it and they can make their own decisions. And I don't think the whole process that they're going through is doing cycling any good, because they're harping on everything that's bad about the sport or was bad about the sport. And I mean, it's Lance right now has become the personality that he is, not only through cycling. Yes, that was a platform to get him where he was, but he does so much more for for a lot of other things out there, like the Livestrong Cancer Foundation. And so Lance, whether they take 7 tour titles away from him and everything else he'd done for a couple of years, honestly, I don't think he cares. And whether, in my personal opinion, if someone comes and says, oh, they've taken Lance's titles away, it makes no difference in my life either. Cycling will still carry on being cycling. The Tour de France is still going to be there next year, and Lance Armstrong will always be remembered as being Lance Armstrong, a guy who won 7 tours, and there was a bit of controversy around it, but he will still be Lance Armstrong. So I think people need to get over the whole fact that maybe he did, he didn't. It's the past, and we need I think everybody just needs to move forward.
All right. And I mean, they haven't gone through the process yet, have they, where they will be allocating, or are they not going to allocate?
Well, that's a very difficult thing, because I think they're going to blanket, because if you look at the last the 7 years that he was there, there's only 2 riders. I say 2, let's say 1.5, because one rider, I think he ran 4th, was Andrei Kivelyev in one of the years. I don't know the exact year right now. I'm not so good with those statistics, but he unfortunately passed away. He was never implicated in any doping, so he could have run a podium in one of those Tour de France's.
Is that how far back they'll go, to 4th place in some tours to find someone that wasn't tainted?
I'm talking top 5.
Wow.
So in top 5 in the last, even in the 7 years, a lot of the riders were implicated in some kind of doping affair. If they weren't actually caught for doping, they were involved in some kind of a doctor who had a sketchy past, so they said, okay. So I'm talking top 5 in those things. And like I said, there's only 2 riders now, 1.5, because one guy got mentioned the other day who ran 2nd 1 year to Lance. So top 5 in 7 years have got issues, and it doesn't paint a pretty picture for cycling. But I can honestly say, cycling now has changed compared to those years. The sport itself is fighting doping like no other sport has. The amount of procedure we have to go through on a daily basis, saying where we are, what we're doing, being available for testing all the time. They fly.
They're going to put catheters on you guys now, just so you can permanently test you any time of the day.
But yeah, I mean, it's,
could they walk in here right now and test you? Is that how, what they say? The rules say
they could.
They could arrive here right now and test Robbie Hunter.
They could.
Gee.
Should we test Robbie Hunter?
Do they tend to stalk at all, Robbie?
I'm prepared to pee as long as you're prepared to hold the cup.
I'll hold the cup.
There we go.
You whip it out, and we'll save some of your urine.
Exactly.
And then you sign the mug.
There we go. So it's
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sicko.
Robbie, do they tend to stalk?
What stalk?
Do they like stalk those guys? Do they stalk you?
No, they just
No,
arrive
they
out of the
stalk
blue.
you. They arrive out of the blue. I mean, well, sometimes they do because, I mean, athletes in the past try to get around certain situations, but I mean, and they would kind of sit around a quarter, you know, saying if an athlete said he was going to be home or he was going to go training at a certain time and he kind of disappeared 2 hours prior. So, in a certain sense, they did stalk you, but I've known some athletes who've kind of got their back on guys like that, who've been at home and kind of phoned the police going, listen, I've got a guy sitting outside my house, I don't know who he is, and cops have come and collected him and the guys protested. So the athletes have also got their own back on testers, but look, I mean, there is a purpose for them because they want to try and make a sport that's clean and which is great, but it's it's something that we've done to ourselves, and it's I'm happy to get tested any time of the day, and I mean, that's why we are in the systems we are with an ADAM system, which is a computer system every day. A lot of sports are now affiliated to, and you have to give your details where you're going to be day in, day out, and then be available for at least one specific hour a day, at home, saying I'll definitely be there. They are able to come out of that time period, but so there are processes in place that are trying to keep the sport clean, and it is for the better at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a scare where they took a urine sample and it came out positive or by mistake? I mean, I'm not saying.
No, never. It's never happened to me.
I've never heard of a urine sample where I've never heard of a B sample actually overturning an A sample.
It has.
Has it? I've never heard of anything like
It's
this.
happened. I can give you
Wow.
the specifics myself. I was in the team with Phonak at the time, and a good friend of mine still today, Italian rider by the name of Fabrizio Guidi, turned up a positive sample for EPO.
He must have crapped himself.
No, he did, and that was the problem, because then they say to you, okay, well, you're positive, now you need to prove that
Sorry,
it's
I'm
not.
not talking about when he's doing the
Yeah,
test.
correct.
That's the wrong way. I'm talking about figuratively.
I mean, the problem was because the minute that test comes out, it goes in the press. It's not it's only supposed to come out after the B sample if it's happened.
Perception.
But it comes out straight away that you've got this dirty rider. He's gone and taken all these drugs. So the guy's lambasted in the press. His image goes for a ball of crap.
Yeah.
And it turned out that he said no ways, he hadn't done anything, and they went and retested the B sample, and it came back and there was nothing wrong.
And that's on page
So-
5 at the bottom.
Correct. So no apologies, nothing came back, and it cost him money.
Could you sue them, do you think?
You can't.
It is a format. Yeah, I suppose.
Because the amount of money that costs you to try and go and sue that whole process, it just ends
Yeah.
up wasting your money.
Because
So-
it's not them necessarily that are going out there publicly, because it's by perception. Immediately people see something, they draw their own
Exactly.
conclusion. And because probably way more than 90% of A samples return a positive B sample
Correct.
as well. It doesn't
Correct.
happen very often.
But it's almost like
No.
a form of, you think of it like a form of slander almost.
Defamation.
Yeah, and defamation,
It is, but there are rules in place because the guys say, listen, you're not supposed to, or results are not supposed to be out there until the B sample is confirmed. But that never happens.
Yeah.
Like we heard with
Never
comrades as well.
The
with
comrades win it
Yeah.
this year.
never happens. So it's
What I find absolutely ludicrous though, and with the whole allocation of the tours, if Lance is not going to be considered the winner by the powers that be, is the fact that if someone has been tainted, they've done a ban for 2 years or whatever, or a year or 2 years, and then subsequently come runner-up or something in those tours, and I think there is a case for that
Yes,
in a
yes.
couple of them, where because they've done their ban, they would be allocated that Tour de France victory. Am I right in
Correct.
saying that? That's ridiculous.
It is, and it's a difficult situation. I mean, the same thing you got to take into consideration as well. I mean, all the prize money that is that is won through Lance's team over that period as well. What happens to that money? Does that get taken back and reallocated? It's impossible to do. So to go and try and over those 7 years to go and rewrite their history books, it's almost impossible.
Do you think, I know you want to wrap up the thing with Lance and you've said your say, but I just want to know, do you think it was right of him, did he do the right thing by not fighting it?
Yes, I do. I think he also understands now that, you know what, I think everybody now knows that no one really cares anymore. Yes, there's always people out there and why do I want to fight it, but like I said, from everybody who's in the cycling world, from that I'm in contact with on a daily basis, 99% of people just want to move on and get on with the sport because it's a beautiful sport, it's a great sport, and and people are sick and tired of listening to the bad side of it. It's I think for Lance to carry on, Lance will always be a personality, always will. He does great work with a lot of things, like we've said, and that can try and stop him from riding certain events. But at the end of the day, people still want to know and see Lance Armstrong. So if he goes to unsanctioned events like he's just done now on the weekend, going to a mountain bike race that's not sanctioned by, the powers that be, so be it. People are going to just get those unsanctioned events are just going to get bigger.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Will he still make some money? Do you think?
Still some money.
Yeah. Will he
Make
still
a lot of money.
will the money still keep pouring in? Will he still
Always will.
Yeah.
I mean, his sponsors that he's now had have always said they'll continue sponsoring him, Nike, for instance, and that he will always be that that personality and that figurehead actually. So it's
Yeah, I mean, and also particularly, I think in context is also what he overcame.
correct.
Also, to
That's the thing. A
carry
lot
on
of
doing his
people,
sport,
a lot of people look at Lance because of what he overcame to do what he did, and so it is an aspiring story, very much so, and that's what people like to believe, and that's what people need to continue seeing.
All right, we'll put Lance to bed, so to speak, there, because we want to chat about the Change of Life Cycle Tour with Nike Vision. What are you doing here in South Africa? What is mostly chill time for you, eh?
Yeah, it's mostly chill time, and like I said, here for 3 months and not racing at all. So yeah, it's basically soak up the South African sun and do a couple of things that I normally don't get to do during the season.
Awesome. And your beautiful, beautiful wife is on her way when?
She gets out on the 2nd of November with the 2 kids.
Lovely,
Yeah.
man. Well, we send our love when
Sorry,
she does
2nd of October.
Where do you stay when you come home?
I got a place out near Ramsig, so I got my own house.
He swings a club as well. Or what do you play? What's your handicap?
Nah, not too good. I don't get enough time to play. But I'm lucky enough that my wife works at a golf club, so I can play once in a while for free in Europe. But I'm still only off for about a 15er.
Where does she work? What golf club?
She works at a golf club called Golf Club Kuznacht in Switzerland. Really nice
Some
course.
beautiful golf courses there. With those mountains and stuff around. A's on wherever they play the Swiss Open. There's actually one of them on PSP. There's a Swiss golf course.
Yeah.
I used to play that one just because of the scenery, and it wasn't even real.
But you're lucky because she works there, because that's a big saving, eh?
It is. It's a huge saving.
What do they rush you for around?
It's probably about, if you remember, probably about 150 francs or something like that.
Yes.
So it's
What's that in euros?
about 100 euros. No,
That's
yeah,
not-
100 euros.
Not
yeah.
too bad.
What are you talking about? It's
Yeah.
$1,000 to go and play at your home
Yeah,
course.
you try and go
Yeah.
play at Pearl Valley and see what it'll cost you these days.
Nothing. I think
Unless
it's
you have
belly up.
connections. All right, so one of the things you are going to be doing is the Change of Life Cycle Tour with Nike Vision. All right, tell us exactly what is the Change of Life Cycle Tour all about.
So it's an event that was started 5 years ago.
Are you doing it, or are you just like the face of?
No, I'm there. I'm going to be riding it. I'm
riding
going to be riding it, yeah. And that's kind of why I've called my season to a close really early this year, and I've come back and decided to ride this event with them. It's something I've been wanting to do for the past 5 years, because after the first year I saw how great it was, and I've kind of been begging to get onto the tour. And finally this year they gave me the nod and said I can come along and have a bit of fun with the guys. But it's an event that was started 5 years ago, when one of the heads of Computershare were actually murdered, Mike Thompson, and they decided to basically try and do something about the crime in South Africa through a number of different ways. And so what they did is they got this event together, and they go and ride for 5 odd days. They've, like I said, in past years they've been in different countries, in Namibia and Malawi, and this year it's up in the Waterberg. So for 5 days we're going to be riding around with a lot of I think it's 74 of us who are riding, top business people. And what they do is everybody who comes to the event has to go, or basically pay their way into the event. So all the money that gets raised goes to a number of charities that basically Computershare have then decided on. And what they do is through all of this and these charities, they try and basically educate the younger community of South Africa, to try and teach them that crime's not the way forward. And so they go about a number of ways. One of the things is the brother of Mike Thompson has got a karate studio, so he teaches young guys just
Basic defense.
yeah,
and
basic
stuff like
defense,
that.
and also teaches them the morality of life and those kinds of things, just to move forward. And so that's one of the programs. And there's a couple other programs that the guys are using. There's a down in down towards Durban side, they've got a Martin Dreyer who does, uses, he's obviously done a doozy a number of times. So he gets guys through sport again to try and move forward in life and not just end up being the hopeless people who turn to crime. So there's a couple of things that guys use. It's not the only charities that they use, but it's basically to try and get people and the youth of today to understand that there is better things out there. Yeah.
There are other things out there for them.
Correct.
Just got to give it a try.
Exactly.
All right, and so when is this happening now? It's on I'm trying to get the dates here.
20th to the 25th
Of
so
October.
tomorrow, yeah.
Oh, September. So it's like happening now.
Starts tomorrow. I'll leave
Jeez,
tomorrow morning.
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And what a beautiful part of the country as well. Eh?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's up in the Waterberg. They've put on a really great event. We're staying up the Legends
Nice.
Resort, so it's really good. And yeah, there's some really great support behind the event. I mean, I'm lucky enough also to be out here because of Deloitte. They were the guys who brought me out here, so I'm really glad for that. And I mean,
Are you getting Deloitte's on camera, by the way? There we go.
There we go. But yeah, I mean, there's some huge sponsors involved. Vodacom, Vodafone, whatever they are these days in South Africa.
Yeah.
But they've got some really big support and big businesses behind the whole.
I mean, just look at this list here. I'm just
Exactly.
having a look at some of the names. The CEO of the JSE
Correct.
taking part. CEO of Hollard, UTI,
Correct.
Tracker,
Yeah.
USN, Old Mutual Investment Group,
Correct.
Enzo, managing executive at Vodacom, Bidvest are there as well, and of course Martin, who I think was going to be joining us today, but couldn't make it with you this afternoon. But Doozy champion,
Yeah.
of course, and the charity, the DNA Project,
Yeah.
which is an anti-crime initiative, the advancing the use of DNA evidence in bringing criminals to justice, the Martin Dreyer Change a Life Academy, which I think you mentioned,
That's it.
I Choose to Change a Life, which you
it.
gave us a full rundown on, the Alan Thompson Kushido Karate Do, and Namato Change a Life, which gives disadvantaged youngsters in the townships of Port Alfred the mindset, skills, knowledge and support to become successful in life.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. You go on Rovos Rail as well.
Yeah, we got. We
Sweet.
head out tomorrow morning at 6. Yeah,
Why are we not there?
Exactly. So it's really they've put on an incredible event every year, and I mean that's why when I first saw it came out 5 years ago, it was something that I really want to get behind because it really is an incredible event, and so much time is put into organising it. I mean, I was talking to some of the guys earlier, and I mean there's 2 people employed permanently on a daily basis that only do this to run this event. So it's something that takes a lot of time to organise, and it's a great event, and it's like I say, it kicks off tomorrow out in Pretoria on the Rovos Rail out to Carousel, and then from there off to to stay along, and then days after off to Legends.
Nice.
And obviously in amongst all that we are riding our bikes every day, and the longest day we're doing is 215k. So it's a bit of a challenge for some of the people that are coming along, myself included, seeing as it's the end of the season. but yeah, it's a great event, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's nice that guys that are in charge of all these big businesses around South Africa get to go away for 5 days and ride their bikes and have a bit of fun. Yeah,
Awesome stuff. And what a way to go to work in the morning. Wake up in the morning and head off on Rovos Rail to your job that day.
Could be worse. Could be worse.
Could be worse. But yeah, really, really good cause, really good initiative. And listen, while you're out and about there, we're always available on Skype. When you
Definitely.
phone, we can always answer. So
I'll if you guys are keen, I'm gonna have my iPad with me, and
Cool.
it's linked up.
Skype
So
us,
we can chat.
Thanks, Robbie.
That'd be great.
anytime in the afternoon we're here, and even when Sasha's away for the next couple of days. So anytime between 2 and 6, while you're on the route or doing something, or you're there, you just want to touch base.
Perfect.
Feel free to, Rob. Really, it's
Magic
always
to do
nice
that.
to chat to you. Thanks all for coming and telling us about that. It's the 2012 Change a Life cycle. And Robbie Hunter will be there with Nike Vision, one of the proud sponsors of that event. And thanks to them as well, we've got a pair of the Nike Tailwinds. Good luck tomorrow. Enjoy it, man. We look forward to chatting to you during the week then.
Guys, thanks so much. But yeah, we'll chat again in the week. And
Thanks
we'll
for
see you on
popping in.
on Skype.
2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mondays to Fridays live on Ballz.co.za. Ballz.co.za.